Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Waypoint. Today we are playing Penny Racers, and if you don't know what this game is, I don't blame you. I feel like it might be shrouded in the mists of obscurity. But this is, to my far-reaching memory, the earliest racing game I ever played, back on the old PS1. And I have actually played it on the Weekly Waypoint before, but that was the career mode, which only has 3 races unless you unlock more of them. And then I realised there's actually like a little arcade mode which has more races. I swear there were way more tracks than this, so maybe you can still unlock more, I'm not sure. But these are the ones we're going to be trying today, are all the ones available to us. Now, fair warning, while this game is aesthetically gorgeous, it is, graphically speaking, a little sore on the eyes. Especially when you see how the physics engine works in terms of collisions and stuff like that. Also, I don't know if this game is actually held together by strings and tape or if it just doesn't emulate well. But you might notice some gaps in the world, you might accidentally peek through the fabric of space and time. Don't worry about it, it's fine. But yes, Penny Racers, also known as Koro-Q in Japan, for this is a Japanese game. Yeah, I didn't have Gran Turismo as a kid, I didn't have Ridge Racer, I had Penny Racers, also known as Koro-Q, and I liked it. And that's kind of funny looking back on this, because playing this now, it's not a very good racing game. I always loved this bit though, this bit where you go underwater in the tunnel. Wow! This really fueled my imagination as a kid. It developed a, I won't say lifelong, but a childhood-long obsession with tunnels. I guess that's probably pretty normal, but it definitely came from this game. I have loved other Koro-Q racing games in my life, by the way, one of which is known here in the West as Road Trip Adventure, which I've talked about before, which is basically this same racing game on PS2, except that's just like a small part of the game. It's actually attached to like this open world RPG, except instead of battles you have races, and it's kind of cars before cars. They did this a few times. There's a few different games in the Koro-Q franchise which are kind of trying to be RPGs. Even this one, the career mode, I mean, not necessarily like in the sense that I'm talking about with Road Trip Adventure, but here you race for like credits, and then you use those credits to buy upgrades for your car, and then you can race in better races, so on and so forth. It's a little RPG progression-y, but not by much, but give me this. But yeah, this is a hugely nostalgic game for me. When I said it's aesthetically gorgeous, like, the visuals of this game are seared onto my brain as like really, really early Lifetime stuff, like the way tunnels are shown here, and some of the later tracks. The music as well is just absolutely gorgeous. I just wish it played better. It's really difficult, and I don't think it's intentionally really difficult. It's just got, as you can see, a very punishing physics model where if you hit the smallest amount of barrier, you grind to a halt, or if you hit another car while you're racing alongside them, you just kind of judder around together, and yeah, the handling of these cars isn't exactly great either. By the way, I swear I remember this level at least having like a secret path, like they're one of those yellow barricades with the corners where you can see the road going on. I swear you used to be able to drive through one of those and get to like a little secret tunnel area. I think this game is full of little secret shortcuts like that. However, this could just be my kid brain deciding this and it not actually being true, because that's how kid brains work. And I did test this on a different recording, and I just kept losing races because I was just smashing into every barrier I saw to no avail. That being said, maybe straight on here, I just realised a little memory surfaced there. Maybe I should have gone straight on there. Anyway, I'll keep experimenting off camera. But we are not just here today to talk about Penny Racers. It is the Weekly Waypoint, and so I will tell you about my week within this waypoint. Capiche? Capiche. It's been a highly distractible week for me in terms of gaming, and I will talk about the many different games I dabbled in across the week, including a couple of new ones which I picked up on sale. But I did actually have a game that I stuck to pretty well, and that was Octopath Traveler 1, because I played through 4 of the chapter 1s in that game. For those of you not aware, Octopath Traveler is a RPG where there are 8 different companions for you to go and recruit, and each of them has 4 chapters worth of story, and you can, if you want, you can go do them all, like all chapter 1s, all chapter 2s, all chapter 3s, etc. Or like you can do chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Although I feel like doing it that way would be very difficult. Either way, in the Humble Monthly Bundle, which I do tend to subscribe to nowadays, now that I'm fully back in the Scheme ecosystem, this month it's Octopath Traveler 2, and I already had that game, and I haven't played that game because I haven't finished the first game, and I haven't played much of the first game, so I felt slightly foolish. I mean, I didn't have to subscribe for this month, I know, but gave it away to a friend, and I was like, you know what, I should get back to it. So I had 4 characters done. I had, oh god, can I remember them off the top of my head? I had Harnett, the Huntress, who always speaks in like Vissen. It's very silly. I had the thief guy, whose name escapes me. It's not Refia, that's a Final Fantasy IV character, I believe. I had... Oh boy, why am I challenging myself like this? I had the alchemist dude, whose name probably begins with an A. And I had the dancer. She's the last chapter 1 that I did. And I never intended to put the game down, as is usually the case with me. I just wandered off and started doing other things, and then it got buried beneath the pile of other things. But now I'm back. And the funny thing is, by the way, the other 4 characters, I had also seen their chapter 1 stories before. Many years ago when I had Game Pass, I did play those 4, so that's probably one of the reasons why I dropped it a little bit. But I picked it up again, and I have since picked up Ulbrich the warrior, and the merchant kid, remember her name, and most recently the scholar dude, whose name I also remember. I'm so good with names. It's a good thing I'm not a teacher, because I'd just be like, you, that one, scruffy one in the back. I'd be hopeless. But yeah, those are the ones I got so far, so I've only got 1 left to do. I'm hoping she's a healer type, because I don't love the fantasy of an alchemy based healer, like throwing potions at people and stuff. But yeah, I've yet to do any chapter 2s in any Octopath game, and so I'm excited to get the full team together and then start checking out all the chapter 2s. I'm a little concerned about like the level scaling and how I'm going to keep everyone leveled up. I'm wondering if there might be some grinding in my future. And also, one nitpick I've had with the game so far is tortoises. Why are tortoises so goddamn difficult to kill? I get it. They're tortoises. They're going to be very heavily armoured, right? They got these big old shells. You're going to swing your sword at them, it's going to clash off, right? You're not going to do much damage. But that doesn't help the fact that they're a bastard to defeat. And in one particular area, it's not like they're a rare encounter. They show up in nearly every random encounter. And that was... that was almost a put down a game and walk away moment. Not because I was failing, but because it was such a slog to kill them. I wasn't even under-leveled. It's just weirdly balanced for that one particular enemy. Anyway, there's my rant about tortoises over and done with. But yeah, one of the other reasons I decided to pick up Octopath is because I was making a decision between, do I want to pick up the adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Child, or do I want to pick up some comics? And I ultimately landed on some comics. I'm not going to pick up Adventures of Elliot just yet, although I don't foresee myself holding off for too long, because from what I've played of a demo, it's a very good game. But one of the reasons I held off was just, you know, I've got a lot of HD 2D games which I feel very similarly about that I should really get back to and actually play and enjoy, which are already in my backlog. So I'm going to do that instead, and I will instead make the unwise decision to grow my comics library, which I also have a big backlog of unfinished business with. More on that later. But yeah, I've been playing some Octopath. I've been having a good time. But what else have I been playing? What are the many games I've been flitting between? By the way, I think I know why I haven't been able to settle, and I think it's because I had a week off and then I went back to work this week, and so my whatever's going on in my habitual, like, this is what my brain does, this is what it's expecting, this is what we're glomming onto. Whereas last week I was pretty happily cooking away in Destiny 2 with a side helping of Guild Wars 2. This week I found my flow kind of interrupted by work, and because I guess I had a week without that happening, my brain's not used to it. Anyway, we don't need to play armchair therapist. It's just been a very distractible week, we'll leave it at that. So for starters, I think my love affair with Diablo 4 might actually be at an end, at least for now. I'll probably be back in a future season, although from what I've heard, next season isn't looking that great. I did want to finish the Reliquaries, since I have that pass, and I was also tempted by some shop stuff, but I held off. I'm glad I did, because now I'm not quite so invested in the game. I might have felt a bit foolish, but I don't think I'm going to get those Reliquaries done, which is fine, because I did get quite a lot of stuff claimed. It's the first time I've ever done that in Diablo 4, so that feels nice. But of course, that's just cosmetics. For posterity then, I reached Torment 9 all on my own Todd with a Paladin build, which was very... I think it's disciple heavy, the ones that focus mostly on like the spear skills and like jumping up and down and stuff. I didn't look up a single guide, I didn't look up a single build, I just did it all on my own merits of like reading and figuring things out and figuring out how like the end game worked with making sure all my gear was tuned properly. And I did start to hit a bit of a wall, and I could have probably broken through that wall by eventually just giving up and going and looking up guides, but honestly I think I got what I wanted out of Diablo 4's end game for now. Like I said, I always go through a Diablo phase. I'll probably be back at some point in the future, and who knows, maybe this upcoming presentation they're doing in a couple days might really impress me and I'll be eating my words next week, but I kind of doubt it. But not all fixations are forever, my son. All things must end, or at least take a pause, and so I might just go ahead and uninstall Diablo 4 and free up that much needed disk space. Because, oh, here's something I did this week. I re-downloaded Assassin's Creed Odyssey and I tentatively started a second playthrough, which is technically more like a third playthrough, because I did start up a little Let's Play series. Don't think I've forgotten about that, but I mean, I'm not exactly going to go ahead and promise a continuation of that series. It was on a different console platform that I'm not really using anymore, and I don't know, man. One day we'll get a Let's Play done, I'm sure. But for now, I just wanted to chill, play this game I love so much. I really love Assassin's Creed Odyssey from start to finish, once again. Played as Cassandra, once again, or I chose Cassandra because she is the superior choice, and the canon choice, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know if I'm going to play all the way through to the end. Certainly, probably not, like, over the course of a few weeks or anything, but it does feel really nice to be back in that game, running around ancient Greece and you know, doing some questing and all that good stuff. I love that game so much, dude. I also really love Origins, but I've already done 2 playthroughs of Origins, so when I started up a third not too long ago, a part of my brain was like, alright, I love this game, but we need to chill on it. Ooh, my light is flickering, how ominous. If I see any Weeping Angel statues, I'm gonna be shat right up. One last major gaming thing I want to talk about this week. On a bit of a whim, I bought a couple of Sonic games, and you might be thinking, oh, that's nice, are you a big Sonic fan? No, I'm not, and I keep trying to be, and I keep not learning my lesson. But I picked up Sonic Mania because it was £1.49, and bloody hell, sure, let's go ahead and pick that up. That's basically free. Just hold off buying my next packet of crisps, and I've balanced the checkbook right there. And also very cheap was Sonic's fucking... Okay, this is a second take, I can't say this. Sonic X Shadow Generations. And I already owned Sonic Generations, and I've never really played a huge amount of that game. But I saw some gameplay of the Shadow stuff, and it looks really good. And I've always been interested in Shadow as a character, because he's kind of cool. And from what I have played of Sonic Generations, it's one of the better Sonic games. So if I'm going to fall in love with a Sonic game, it's probably going to be that one, or Mania. And I've played the first 3 levels, both acts of each one. Of Sonic Generations so far. I'm probably going to try and hold off on a Shadow stuff until after Generations. And yeah, I don't know how much work they've done. I think it looks prettier based on my memories, but there's every chance that it's kind of just a port with a new bit of game tacked on. It's fine. It was cheap enough that it's worth it just for the price of admission to the Shadow stuff later on. But yeah, Sonic Generations, fun game. I like that you've got the 2D side-scrolling stuff and the, or it's more 2.5D, but, and then you've also got like the more modern 3D Sonic game stuff, and that's like Act 1 and Act 2. It's a very fun concept. I will say I seem to be preferring the 2D Sonic levels a lot more than 3D ones, but I'm having a fairly decent time with both. But that's how I would rate Sonic as a franchise in general, is just fairly decent. I've never had an amazing time. I don't like the feeling that I'm running past so much level, you know? Like, I grew up with collectathon platformers. I like the feeling of making my way through a level and knowing that I can explore every nook and cranny. Sonic very much feels like, you know, there's 5 different lanes to the level and you're constantly switching between them and there's secrets hidden in every lane, but you're going to get punished if you tarry too long, so you better keep running, and then before you know it, the level's over and you just kind of feel like you're button mashed and lucked your way to the end. The only Sonic game I've ever, well, 2 Sonic games. I really like Sonic the Hedgehog. You know, that might be, well, duh, it's the OG, but funnily enough, I've played some of that on iOS back in the day, and on my old iPod Touch when I was a teenager, and that was one of the only times I've ever really tried to stomach touch controls, and I had a pretty good time with that. And then the other one is Sonic Rush, I believe it's called, on the DS. That was a pretty good time as well. But yeah, Sonic, one day, the Blue Blur and I will be well acquainted, I'm sure. Sonic X Shadow Generations, am I here to stay, or will it be a fleeting love affair? Time will tell. By the way, this track that we're on right now, in Penny Racers, oh, worst one in the game. Just awful. And finally, the other game I would say that I've been spending a fairly decent chunk of time in this week is No Man's Sky, and the expedition's a bit pants. I'm gonna be honest, there's not much to do right now. There's 3 missions every 8 hours to contribute a tiny amount to an overall community goal, and that doesn't feel good. I've talked about this already, because you don't really get any personal rewards for contributing, and you're contributing such a tiny amount that it's hard to feel like anything you do matters, and it's going up really slowly, and so the best thing to do is kind of just play it a bit selfishly and wait it out, I suppose. So I haven't been on my expedition save file, but I was in the mood for some No Man's Sky, and I realised I had never played an abandoned save mode. And for those of you not in the know, an abandoned save mode in No Man's Sky basically means you are playing in a version of the universe where there are no other sentient life forms, there's just you. And also, I believe, like, fauna, like creatures on planets, is a lot rarer. They are still around, but most planets are barren of life. And you might be thinking, that sounds miserable, why would you do that? To which I say, actually, no, it's kind of compelling. First of all, there's kind of like a challenge modiness to it, right? Like, without NPCs to like get stuff from and everything, you've got to scavenge a lot of stuff yourself, and like your route to doing a lot of things is a bit more manual, and therefore it feels a bit more like an Iron Man challenge in an MMO, you know, where you like can't trade with people. That's not a very good analogy, strictly speaking, because there are still galactic trade terminals that you can buy stuff from, but just in terms of like the style of gameplay, it feels very rewarding, much like Iron Man modes tend to do, because everything you do is kind of achieved on your own back, and that's just a nice feeling in a game, as opposed to like, you know, like I got it off another player. I think you can still play with other people, by the way, but that's not how I'm doing it. Or like, you know, I got this off an NPC, or an NPC pointed me in this direction. I don't know, it's limiting in a way that makes the game feel more interesting. And the other thing is, thematically speaking, it's really compelling, because back when I first played No Man's Sky, it was 2017, it was just when the game's redemption arc was beginning. It was in its early stages of people going like, oh, they're actually updating this thing and it's getting better and so on and so forth, and it's on a pretty steep discount. I went, yeah, sure, I'll try it out, because I really wanted it to be good. And so, back in the day, before all these, I guess 9 years of updates since, because we're approaching the 10-year anniversary, the game wasn't quite as dynamic and alive as it is today, and I still very distinctly remember that feeling of waking up on the planet, walking around, fixing my suit, fixing my ship, and then when I finally got to dock with the space station, exiting my ship, and for the first time seeing signs of life, like seeing other aliens around the place and talking to them, being like, whoa, what's this guy? He's a Viking, that's cool. Whoa, why is this computer talking to me? Oh, it's a Korvax. That's like a pretty a pretty good memory I have of No Man's Sky. But nowadays, like, the game starts with a third-person camera. Back then, there was not a third-person camera, and the story's very much like, what are you? Like, you're an anomaly. What iteration are you? Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff about your personality. And I remember, like, being like, I don't know what aliens in this world look like yet. I don't know what I look like. It was a very fun concept, and Abandoned Mode reminds me of that a little bit, making the universe a lonely and desolate place. I saw someone say that it feels like the game that the title No Man's Sky is actually trying to embody, and I agree with that. It really does feel kind of alien and strange and a little eerie at times, but in a cool way. If you've never played Abandoned Mode in No Man's Sky, do it. You can still, like, make the difficulty normal or whatever and just have Abandoned Mode be the only modifier. That's what I've done. So you don't have to make it like survival mode or permadeath or anything like that if you don't want to. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's a really fun new way to play the game. It reminds me of when I tried relaxed mode for the first time a couple years ago, and I really got into that save file. No Man's Sky is a game that, like, when it gives you a reason to invest in a new save file and character, like an actual good reason, you can be reminded of just how good that game is all over again. I don't know, maybe your mileage will vary. I've always been fascinated by the concept of a story where you are the last person around, like everyone else has disappeared. And I'm not the first person to think of that concept. I have seen it in literature and stuff, but I do want to write a story like that one day because it's such a cool concept. I did actually start writing a little bit of a journal from my character's perspective in No Man's Sky. I don't know if I'm going to get around to finishing it or coming to a stopping point, but I had a good time with what I did write, and yeah, it's very cool. Anyway, I mentioned earlier I would talk about some of my comic acquisitions, and I won't spend too long on it. You can go to Kritigri Talk Stories, which is linked in the description below, and find some more stuff about that in my shorts that I've posted recently. But I've been picking up some DC Finest, I've been picking up some, well, technically they're not Epic collections. It's a modern one, it's Daredevil, it's the start of Bendis, but I've picked up the Penguin Classics version of Early Amazing Spider-Man, and that's a gorgeous book. Like, the matte cover and the paper stock they use to reprint the original comics, and they're like facsimile editions as well. So you've got the ads in there, and you've got like the like where they write into Stanley and stuff. That's all in there, and then there's like, you know, forewords and introductions and interstitials and stuff like that. It's not like an outright epic collection. It contains less material outright in terms of comics than one of those would, but I do not regret it. I want to get these for the other ones as well. And then I decided to pick up the Red Skies DC Finest Batman edition because I realized that for all of my Eagle Moss Batman collections, I don't have anything collected in that volume, and the premise seems pretty cool. It's set during the Crisis on Infinite Earths when the skies are turning red and the world is coming to an end in that continuity, and that's just... yeah, I want to explore that. That sounds awesome. So I'm partway through reading that. I'm also partway through reading Spider-Man by Todd McFarlane, which is not an epic collection, but it's pretty much the size and width of one. You know, it's got the same amount of content that an epic collection would have. And I'm enjoying that relatively so far. I'll give more thoughts on that later. And finally, today, the first Nightwing A Night in Bloodhaven compendium arrived, which I took a chance on as a pre-owned, and it looks great. So I'm going to go read those. Thanks for watching. Bye!